Alrighty, I think we'll get started if everyone's good to go. We do have the meeting online as well. We don't have anybody on just yet, but they may join kind of a little bit later. So, welcome. Thank you everybody for kind of turning out. Pretty good turnout compared to some of our previous years. So welcome to the BIFC 2026 AGM as well. So thanks for joining. Meeting is being recorded as well for anybody that wants to come back, and it just helps with our BC Society's kind of filings as well. If you haven't, as Leah said, if you could fill out the attendance sheet, kids are welcome to sign it as well. It helps kind of with our filings as well. All right, for today, I'm just going through the agenda. So the initial thing we'll establish forums to make sure that we're legitimate, we have enough people here. We'll go through a few kind of formalities that we do every year. We've got to approve this year's agenda, got to approve the minutes from last year's agenda, which we have printed out here if anybody does want to take a look at it as well. And then we'll kind of go into the bulk of it, which is the 2025 report, done by Anita and myself as the kind of GM and TD report. We do have the financials that we'll go through. Unfortunately, Boris can't make it today, but we have recorded his part of the presentation, so we'll go through that today as well. And then finally, we'll do the election of the 2026 board members. And then any other business Q&A for anybody else. Sorry, apologies. I've been suffering a little bit of a cold last week. Throat may come in and out a little bit. So apologies if I have a little bit of a coughing fit. So just very briefly, just a little bit of an overview of the club. I think most people kind of know, but just in case anybody doesn't, or if there's anybody on the online meeting as well. So, obviously we're a soccer organization based here on Bowen Island, providing, primarily from like cradle to grave soccer programming. So everything from our mini house programs through to youth, through to our academy, all the way up to adult, women's soccer, and we got 50s plus as well. And we'll talk through a little bit some of those programs from last year as well. And we are what's called a quality soccer provider through Canada Soccer. And that's a designation that all clubs have to start with, and we can move on to more licensing beyond that as well. But that's our current kind of standard of BC Soccer. In terms of who makes up the club, so from a board perspective, my name is Neil Bird. I'm the president of the board. Been present for about 4 years or so. As well as that, we have Boris Nikic, who isn't here today. He'll be on video. He's our treasurer. We've got Lee Vincent, who's our secretary. And then in terms of board members, we've got Jess Anka, Rebecca Onder, Brian Glancy, and then finally Andy as well, who's been our kind of marketing and creative director for the last several years as well. So you've probably seen a lot of his good work through the website as well as social media as well. From an operations perspective, we have Anita, so hopefully everybody knows Anita. Anita is our general manager and club coordinator for the club. I was obviously the technical director for 2025, but we've recently introduced this year since January, Oscar Mather. If anybody hasn't met him, definitely introduce yourself. So Oscar will be taking more involvement on the soccer operations side this year, and already has as well. Active member of our kind of adult soccer, ran our summer camps last year and getting more involved with academy and all of the programming for the year as well. Alrighty, let's move on. So I guess just some of the formalities for the moment, and we're actually going to have Lee as our secretary. He's going to be our note taker for today. So he'll be taking notes and putting them into the minutes for this year. So just an introduction for myself. So again, Neil Bird, the president of the club here. We've already gone through the board. Hey, Mark. So in terms of the AGM, so this is from our constitution. So a couple of reasons why we call it an AGM is once we do it yearly. So it has to be done through the month of March. So we're doing it today and for the 2026. And we do have to have a quorum of 5 members in good standing, which I think we've got above and beyond that here today. And then we can, throughout the year, just if anybody's interested, we can actually call an AGM if there's 10% of members in good standing. If you request an AGM at some point for any reason. We do have notice went out. I think hopefully everybody has gotten that notice. We do have it printed out here. Indeed, I know you sent it out. You have to get 2 weeks notice. It's not like that previously. Yeah, it went out through everything. Team Snap, social media, website as well. You can see it as well? Yeah. Got hit with everything else that's going on. Okay, so we need a motion to that the quorum is established. So just need somebody to kind of propose a motion of quorum established and somebody to second. So Rebecca, I saw you proposed it. Just need somebody to second it as well. Okay, Jamie, thank you. So we have a quorum established. We just need somebody to review or sorry, approve the agenda for this year. If anybody wants to propose the approval of the agenda. Rebecca again. Someone second, Matt. Thank you. And then we do have somewhere, it's printed out the minutes from last year. So we just need somebody to approve. Actually, sorry, we do need any outstanding issues from last year's minutes. If anybody can remember them, if anybody wants to look at them. So then we'll approve the minutes from last year's 2025, minutes. Need somebody to approve.
We have to.
Thanks, Richard. What's that?
We have to have read them.
Yeah, you just have to have had no issues with them.
Seconder.
Seconder. Okay, we got Colin as well. All right. Perfect. Anything else, Lee, we need to do from the housekeeping? Okay, cool. All right, let's get into the fun part of the agenda. Apologies for turning away to the screen here. So we're going to go through our kind of yearly report. So this will be a combination of myself. I might have Anita kind of speak to some of the items on here as well. Andy's going to do a section on some of our kind of marketing and some of the kind of equipment and uniform updates that we kind of did this year. So we'll go through kind of programming. Okay. I go to our programming, some of the logistics that happens at the club, the equipment and kit, because Andy will probably go through that, marketing, and then we'll go through some of the financials. So in terms of programming updates for this year, so on the youth side for Mini House, we've got the numbers up here. And we're actually doing pretty strong from a Mini House perspective. Seeing really big numbers, seeing up to 15 to 20 kids in some of the different age groups. Starting to see it's a little bit slow for spring picking up. So if you have any kids in that kind of age group, definitely start signing them up. And we're going to start sending out communications prior to spring break as well to try and encourage that. But hoping that we keep up those Mini House numbers. It kind of really helps us as we get to youth and where you need bigger squads for doing kind of games. It helps having those bigger numbers. So if you know of anybody with younger kids out there, we do all the way from age 3, which is our U5, so 3-year-olds, 4-years, U5. We go all the way up to U8, which is our kind of 7-year-olds. So if you're aware of kids at that age, definitely kind of put them in touch or send them to the website. Next one on the youth programs. For Academy, last year we had 23 registrations in spring, and again 23 registrations in fall. Your Academy's been a little bit low the last couple of years. A lot of other programs out there, particularly in spring for baseball, inline hockey as well. We've actually started seeing a big uptick this year. I think we're up to 38 kids registered already for Academy, which is really exciting. Really big uptake on the girls' side as well. So both the Red Pandas, our U9s group this year, as well as the Ladybugs, the U11s, really big sign-ups there as well. Trying to encourage some of the boys a little bit to kind of get involved as well, but it's looking really good this year in terms of numbers on the Academy side as well. And feel free, if you have any questions at any point on any of the programs, feel free to kind of things like that. The other part of the youth programs, which is the bulk or the main part of our youth programming, is the actual team part. So this typically starts in fall, typically starts training is in August, games start in September. And we have anywhere from U8 all the way up to U12 participate in our North Shore Youth Soccer Association. So this is what's called the interlock. So it's primarily based on the North Shore. So North Van, North Shore Girls, West Van, might play a little bit up in Pemberton, Squamish, Whistler as well. But very localized. This is where the kids start to play actual games against each other. All the way, as I said, from the U8 level. This year we had 83 kids kind of registered across those programs. And we do have a second one. I'll talk to that one in a second. It's the BCCSL, which is U13. So we have more than just the 83 kids here. And that's spread across 7 teams with an average of about 11 kids per program. Some of the cohorts are a little bit small. We've had to do some adjustments this year. So, for instance, our U10s and 11s, we actually merged this year to accommodate the level field to this year. Okay. The other part of our kind of youth as well is the oldest group, the U13. So once we go to U13, we transition from the North Shore Youth Soccer Association to the BCCSL proper. And this year we had one team. We didn't have a girls team this year at U13. We had a boys team, which is the group that I manage. We actually took part in the Division 2 BCCSL this year. So it's the BC Coastal Soccer League. Okay. So they manage all youth soccer across all of BC. Okay. The North Shore Youth Soccer Association is essentially a district that's part of it. And what they do is at the younger ages, they call it interlock, where they keep it very localized, but young kids aren't having to travel terribly often. So that's why you play primarily on the North Shore. Right. With the BCCSL, though, you travel a little bit more. So we travel into Vancouver, Richmond, I think you did the US. I don't think you did Burnaby this year. So, and again, once you get to U13 and beyond, it starts to get a little bit more geographical spread out. Big year. U13 is the last year that kids actually play on the island. Once you move to U14, it goes to 11-a-side. Unfortunately, our grass field here is really only big enough to go to the 9-a-side. So this is the last year these kids will play together as a group. They actually went through and did the West Van tryouts this last week as well, Monday through Wednesday. So yeah, it was a little bit of a sad celebration. We were here 2 weeks ago and had a little bit of a celebration for the last time. Then those kids as well. You guys will probably experience at some point as well once the kids kind of go up to their lives as well.
And thank you for Coach Mandela. You were incredible.
Thank you.
You didn't just manage them; you led them.
Yeah. And as I said, myself, Stacey Shannon, Max Bosch, and Kelly Harper kind of managed the group as well. All right. So the other part of the youth that we do as well is in the summer camps, and had a very successful program this year. We had 25 kids participate. We did one week in August, I think, this year. I was led by Oscar, actually led it. The summer camps helped by Arthur Savos, who you guys kind of may know the island as well. So Oscar and Arthur kind of did head coach for it. We're actually assisted by a few volunteer coaches that are now actually become official coaches for us for Academy this year. So Will Segal, Abby Walters, and Justin Moran as well. Very successful. A lot of good fun out there. I think that the idea is to kind of have fun out there. It's a half-day session, and we'll look to run this again this year, and potentially do multiple weeks throughout the year as well, also throughout the summer as well. So, you want to add specifically?
I'd say, I think probably the main thing that's a little bit different to the academy is just it's like a mix of everyone within that age group, and so it was pretty great to see the boys and the girls and slightly different age groups playing together. And yeah, the main focus was just having fun in the sun and trying not to overheat, get in the shade as much as possible.
I can't remember this year. Was it a heat wave one or?
Yeah, there was a couple days that were, but we just played in the corner for a little bit.
Yeah, it's one of the big challenges we have because, a lot of people say, well, why don't you do full day camps? Because it helps, with kids, people come in for a full day, rather than other camps. Full days are in the summer with that type of weather as well. So you'll have to see this year whether we want to full day camps or keep it at conference.
Yeah, one of the things I didn't put in the slide is that over the last few years, we have sort of grown some of our youth And we don't have an official program, but sort of like start them out at refereeing, like getting certified for refereeing. And then we start to do volunteer coaching with the academy. We see who's really dedicated and interested. Then if those players are interested in going further, we will sponsor them for coaching certification. Will, Abby, and Justin are all BC soccer certified coaching. And they can't do that till they're 16, but it is sort of a not official program, but we sort of move them through our program. And then they walk away with this certification where it's a BC soccer certification, and they could go assistant coach for the rest of their life. A really great sort of reward for the dedication for us, and just to really keep them interested in involved in the club.
Yeah, and it's a big ethos that we have at the club the last few years. You know, as a community organization, we want to support our youth. So that goes from, you know, we actually support an academy and even at youth level for volunteer coaches to come out. So high school students who need volunteer hours, they'll actually approach us and they can come out and do it on a volunteer basis and do some of that coaching. And typically they may be kids that we've brought up through the refereeing ranks as well. And then from there, we're also supporting them once they get to 16 to actually do their coaching certification. We love bringing them back in and then starting them in the academy systems, potentially bringing them into the youth as well to kind of help with some of the coaching there as well. And then, letting the youth kind of build this on. So, I know Colin's kind of stepping down from academy. I'm stepping down from academy this year. And we're really looking to get some of the youth kind of running that and getting some good energy in it. So also, if you have teenagers, that are looking for, some pathways, a little bit of way to earn some money or get some volunteer hours, definitely send them our way and happy to support them.
In order to be paid, sorry, she's asking her voice, they have to assume in.
Okay.
But they can still volunteer.
And we did a lot of volunteer hours for that one person. Great.
Yeah, referees we can do from 12-year-old, I think. And we can pay referees as part of the BC soccer organization. For our coaches, it has to be done as an independent contractor, so it has to be 16 or plus it's a little different level of maturity in terms of like coaching kids.
But those certifications that we sponsor are all their own individual certification, so they can referee for us. The thing also rests with referees, martial art, wrestling, those are really great opportunities for them. So they referee events where they go and coach referee around. It's a great refereeing is hard. It's a very fun job. Do well and it's great to see them do that.
Alrighty. So moving on from the youth, next up is the kind of adult programming. So this is just focusing on the adult rec. So last year we had 82 registrations, so starting to get pretty good numbers. This is spread across spring, summer, and fall. Plus we did, if everyone recalls, we have an annual program as well. A big thank you to Matt Smith and Byron Pashwata and Conor Murta. They've kind of ran it for us the last kind of few years as well, and it's been pretty successful. We actually just started games again in the last couple of weeks. Our official started until the end of March. We're starting to ramp that up now that the weather's gotten a little bit better as well. It's a little bit slow, I think, in terms of numbers at the moment. I think we're close to 30, but it always kind of ramps up through the year as well.
What are the next for that?
So we do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. 7:30 to 9 p.m. And it's pickup style, so we do it through TeamSnap. And we try to limit it to, I think, 21 max, so we can do like 3 teams of 7. So it's kind of like a first come, first serve sign up type of thing. So, be a TeamSnap, yeah. Most nights are pretty good, but during the height of spring or summer, we do get big numbers out as well. So we sometimes have to limit it as well. So last year, actually, maybe the second year, we had the women's night. structured very similarly to the adult rec. So we did a spring, summer, and fall session, but just one night a week for the women. I think it flipped and flopped a little bit between Wednesdays and Tuesdays, but overall, across all three programs, we had about 25 registrations. Good fun. I don't know, Maria, if you've been out to it, Rebecca. You know, yep, Susan as well. So definitely, you know, I think there's a indoor women's that came to an end probably this week as well. So we'll look to start this up in the next kind of few weeks as well and try and get some interest as well. And the last of the adult programs is the 50 plus. And these guys actually started back in January, I think, unofficially. February.
We've never really.
Yeah.
No, we started in February.
Yes, okay, sorry, for the record, we started in February when our insurance started. Yeah, but really big interest, you know, with this year with the weather being a little bit milder, there's a big interest for the 50 plus kind of getting out, which has been fantastic to see. Hagen Ainsworth has kind of ran that pretty much throughout the year. Looked like good fun. I know numbers kind of go up and down a little bit depending on how many are injured at a particular time,
Yeah.
things like that. And
I think we've gone 3 weeks without an injury.
It's nothing like that.
Since the insurance. Yeah, we're fine.
all right. Okay. So that's everything on the programming across adult and youth. Any questions, anything like that, or comments, feedback? Rebecca.
Any question with regards to the red pandas? What age do the red pandas start? Like, so for the new U5 intake, is it mixed or is it just?
Oh, you mean for new
Yeah.
new kids? So, you know, to be honest, when you mentioned red pandas, you mean like a girls specific?
Yeah.
So at Mini House, we tend to mix together. It's actually beneficial for kids to have it mixed together. When it gets to the youth team, so that U8, U9, that's when we may or may not, depending on numbers and things like that, we may or may not split at that point. You know, the red pandas this year were a mix of, so it was U9, so it would have been 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds. And next year it would be 8 and 9-year-olds. The ladybugs were U11, so that would be 9 and 10-year-olds. So we'll keep a track on how girls' numbers we're looking at the Mini House and decide, do we need to, you know, split them out, merge them, or just keep it mixed? Because we can keep it mixed. You know, we've had like Lee's group last year, the U13 group last year was mixed all the way right the way through to U14 as well. Just
A lot of those girls.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and I truly think that was the best for games. And a great coaching. And they just feel so weird that if I'm playing against girls, but they're all really good. They're just
But it really benefited boys. Their sense of community and also inclusion, like they have a different orientation.
understand. But also great.
Yeah, and so like it depends on the group, but we can also handle individual pieces as well. So we had Lydia Stevenson was on Mark's group this year as one girl. We had the U13 group last year moved off to the West Van, and Lydia didn't want to make that transition at that point, so she came and joined the boys, and I think it was a big benefit for her as well. And that'll probably help her next year when she does move on to an all girls. So, but it's up to individuals, but also groups. If there's a big cohort of girls, we can kind of bring them together and create a girls only.
I don't voice.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
wondering for the sake of size.
Yeah.
At one point decide to, whether you decide to split it.
Yeah, like generally, you know, when we get to U9, it's 6 aside, it's 7 aside, 8 aside, and goes up to 9 aside. You kind of need a group of 10 to 12, 14 almost. So that gives you an idea of the numbers. That's typically why we merged girls groups together, 2 age groups, to try to get those numbers. If it's low, then we may have to do it together with the boys as well.
It also depends on back to something within any group, coaches with dedicated to this growth team work. Great, as teams that parent volunteers that are willing to do that because there's coaches for this group, and then these coaches came out and did the growth. So that's the project that we do. Parents are interested in forming a team for that. It really takes that volunteer effort.
I just want to say that it was like a really, really rewarding experience for me to coach. I just want to thank all of you guys for all the work you did behind the scenes to make that happen and let us have that opportunity to coach those girls. It was a really exciting and rewarding experience for me. So thank you for all your help. It's a really great organization. I'm excited to be part of it. So thanks for everything you guys did. I think that's good. Just wanted to say thanks.
No, thanks, Shane. And, you know, we appreciate everything. Coaches. You know, just one last thing, just on the girls' soccer as well. Like we're really seeing big numbers and big enthusiasm as well. And a lot of that's to do with the coaches. You know, with the likes of Jamie and Andy in the Red Pandas group. We've got that with the Ladybugs group, with you know, Kelly, Al, and Ivan on that group there as well. One of the big things we've also seen is siblings. You know, we see a lot of group, you know, siblings between that U11 and that U9 group, and hopefully we'll see the same now with the next generation kind of coming up. And when they see the older girls playing, that they maybe want to get together again. So it's a good sign for the future to see, you know, such interesting girls as well. Okay. Next up, just a little bit on the kind of logistics side. So first up, we've got the kind of field maintenance. You know, so all this involves, you know, some of the stuff that's behind the scenes a little bit. We do work with the Muni on a lot of this, particularly with the grass field. Looking to kind of get that mown, you know, seeded, aerated every year. It probably needs a little bit of work this spring, and the grass field, I think it was fertilized last year, but I don't think it was aerated. So we're going to try and do a little bit of work on that this year. The turf field was actually groomed spring last year as well, and held up reasonably well, I think, for most of the year. And they actually did some maintenance on it the previous fall in 2024, which seems to have held up quite well. Some of that patchwork that got done as well. So kind of pretty happy with how that field is holding up at the moment. And I think we're going to be another 4 or 5 years for that to be renewed. We did put new nets on both the bigger goals as well as the smaller goals of last year, 2024. They've kind of held up through most of the season through this year. They're starting to get a little bit ragtag at the moment, so I think that's one thing we're looking to purchase this year as well.
It's like for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, actually, this is a slide from last year. We don't need to talk too much about it at the moment, but quality service provider. So as I mentioned, like we are officially a Canada Soccer quality soccer provider. We went through the renewal at the end of 2024. I think that has to happen every 2 years as well. So to be around this time next year, that we'll have to go through that. We've gone through the renewal once, so we kind of have most of the things. Sometimes they come out with new policies that we have to put in place, but we're good for at least another year on that side of this. The BC Soccer coaching certification. So we did do a round of certification last, I don't know what it was, April, May. I think we had 14 coaches and are certified across various different levels. So there's different levels of coaching certification that we do, all the way from Learn to Train, I'm getting them all now, the Soccer for Life, the coaches fundamentals, and one else as well. You know, we struggled a little bit this year because officially you're supposed to have different certifiers, assessors come over for each of the different certifications, different age groups. We were able to kind of wrangle one coach or one certifier to come over for it. we'll see whether we can do that again. We probably won't do it this year, but probably the following year. But we may have to start partnering up with some of our soccer organizations like Westpac to see can we actually send our coaches over there, be part of their certification as well. Just it's a little bit of when we don't have huge numbers at each of the levels. Alrighty. So just in terms of some of the other things we go through for our coaching onboarding, so obviously every coach manager that we have goes through criminal record checks. I think Anita noted last year that that system's gone a lot more streamlined this year. I think it's a new online system. I went through it late last year and I think it took a couple of days for it to get approved. So a lot more streamlined at the moment. So hopefully everybody who needs to have it has it done at the moment. If not, we'll go through more rounds.
The best thing about it is people get halfway through the process and they're like, but I did it, and I can see the status. So then I can go back and say, yes, you did, but you got to finish it. Because it is kind of confusing from the user side, and it's a pretty robust system. We just use a part of it, but it is made like so much easier for our coaches to do it as well as for the management. It's great.
All right, and then the second thing we kind of offer our coaches is kind of first aid training. That is actually kind of required as part of our QSP as well. So we did last year go through a round of first aid with most of our coaches, and Anita does track. We've got a tracker for all certifications, first aid criminal checks as well. So we've got pretty good coverage from a first aid perspective as well. Then we're on our refereeing certification. So we did do a refereeing certification late last spring, May, April. So we had, I think about 6 or 7 Bowen kids participate. We had 35 kids in total actually attend the session. So there's huge amount over all of BC for certification for referees. So we actually opened it up to kids from off island to come over. Just to get that opportunity because they couldn't get it on the mainland. So it's great to do it. We had Megan come over who did some of our previous summer camps as well, and she's done previous certification. She did it last April for us as well. And then this year we had some, not all of those coaches at this certification kind of came out, but we had Will, Abby, Justin, Henry, Amaya, Killian, Owen, and Ellis be our kind of coaches this fall, referees this fall as well. So big thanks to them. Without the referees, we can't run games here as well. There's one thing I take pride of is how we help our referees by making sure that our coaches are very approachable, kind of when they're playing as well. The leagues are noting there's big issues in the city for referees, and they're being dropping out of being refereeing because of some of the issues that they're seeing there. I've been harassed, by parents, by coaches, by kids. I think we've got a pretty good setup here, and the kids they're always willing to kind of reach out to our coaches if any issues do happen during games as well. So, a big thanks to our coaches for helping support our referees as well. It's a hard job, but some of them like it. Some of them like the power. You've probably seen that as well. Yeah. Okay, so equipment and gear. I don't know, Anita, do you want to talk through this one or don't you? Okay. Okay, I can't remember exactly, but so this year, equipment and gear. I think the big things this year for us were tents. I think we ordered 3 brand new tents this year. We go through field liner like it was free, it's actually quite expensive. $500 for a case.
No, for what it takes us to see.
Oh, for the full season as well, yeah. As well, and then obviously we provide kind of branded coaching gear. I think that Andy will talk a little bit about, and he's supporting at the moment, for all of our coaching as well. So you'll see in the budget we do have some items for some of this for next year as well. We did actually do new benches this year.
I did 3 new benches, but the rest of it was too, especially after seeing the You'd ask. A lot of our finishes are broken, so, and that's equipment that goes on my end. I don't know if you've seen our teams, like in the North Canton, that, the North Canton is one of them. That's, it's just amazing to be on the vacation over there. It's just so nice and it's a great part. It's fun.
Yeah, I think Andy will talk about it, but like we take pride in the club in terms of trying to be professional. That's in terms of how we coach our kids, but also how we're presented on the field. So, you'll see the uniforms that we kind of produced this year, but the tents look really good as well. But they do have a shelf life as well. One of the challenges living where we are, they get wet, they get damp, they get thrown into the sheds. Same with the benches. Benches probably last maybe 2 years, I think. Tents, if it's a windy day, they can get damaged as well. But we're replacing them probably every 3 years or so.
She's fine.
5.
3 to 5.
Yeah, I think the new ones, we actually went for some sturdier ones as well, so hopefully they'll last a little bit. Alrighty. I think that's it in terms of equipment, so kit. So I need to.
Yep. Hello, everyone. As Neil just mentioned, well, actually what happened this year was our previous kit manufacturers stopped producing kits, which put us in a cool place of having to find out an alternative. But what we did was we used it as an opportunity to step things up. We did everything we could to create costs as close to what they were, and I think we did a really good job of that. But it gave us the opportunity to partner with Macy's, and we joined in with Adidas to become a recognised contract with them, which has given us loads of opportunity to make sure that when the kids step onto the field, they feel like they're fully kitted out and they look different to who they're playing against. We think the same with the coaches as well. Like if we're expecting young footballers to behave like wrestling coaches, we expect that we put on a persona ourselves that buys into that. We think that looking right is all part of it. So we also wanted to make sure that the coach is rewarded for all the volunteers hours they do, and they're not stood around in the rain getting soaked with inadequate equipment. So we did that as well. Worth noting that because of the partnership with Macy's, we do get a 10% discount for all members if ever you are in the store there. So if you are looking to buy cleats, gym pads, anything like that, it is worth stopping by, getting a bit of a saving. And we haven't done much in the last 12 months, but before that, we produced a range of hoodies and scarves. There are still a few of those which are available here tonight if you'd like to pick them up. And they just show that we are in a position where we get to explore those kind of things. We actually pick up a little bit of funding from EA Sports each year, and we usually use that to try out different things. So we keep the items generally at cost, and then the money just goes back into the club as we go.
And hours that you donate. So he donates volunteer hours because EA is the school year. They give us money.
But don't tell EA how many hours you do.
I don't think he records them all. I don't think he records.
And then I just wanted to touch on some of the things that we've done around the club as well this year. And I did want to point out that what we have here is very unique. There are Premier League clubs out there who would dream to have the system that we get to play on. We've kind of focused this year on consolidation and consistency because we, over the last couple of years, rebranded, we brought in the new badge. That was kind of done before many of our time. It was as we were coming onto the board. But I think they did a really good job in setting up with that, but there was a lot of work that still needed to be done. We took that forward. And then where we're at now is I think we're in a place to challenge ourselves, to engage the community and to do memorable things that create awareness around the club and give the players that represent us something to take forward and remember for the rest of their lives. My big thing about everything we do at the IFC is if something's worth doing, then it's worth doing well. So I personally think that we can be the most creative small soccer team in the whole of Canada, and everything that we look to do here, I think is through that lens. So,
That's a good idea, Dandy.
so with all that, we look to have a kind of broad social media base. We're probably more active on Instagram than anything, but we did show up on Facebook. But if you do want to see everything that's going on at the club, I do recommend joining the Instagram channel, keeping an eye on what's going on at the website. There's a lot of interesting things we do. Having the opportunity to welcome South this year was obviously awesome and gave us something to kind of get behind. So anything big that's happening with the club, we'll just look to build that into our plans. Some of that as well took us into some pretty cool events this year. I think year on year we've always looked to make sure that we show up at big Bowen moments. So Festival of Trees, Remembrance Day, the Round Bowen Race, Canada Day, Bow Fest, Pride. They're all kind of like something that we won't step away from, and we'll always try and do as much as we can now. A couple of the big things we were able to do on top of that this year, though, right at the beginning of this year, the end of last year, so this was touched on in the last AGM, was that we took the U12s and U13s out to EA, and we did a partnership with EA and UEFA, where we got them out on the field there. We got them playing kind of in-game training games and then practicing on the pitch. That was a huge opportunity for the kids to see things a little bit differently. They got a tour of the building, that kind of thing, which was fun. And then we
They got kit as well.
yeah, and we provided kit and everything for them, which again, that's a bit of a lift.
It was insane.
It's great.
It's so amazing.
Last year, we also had to mark the passing of Burns Jennings, who was one of the founders of the club. So it was really good that we managed to come together and be able to remember him in a meaningful way. I think we had almost 100 people show up for the games. It's a really good day, and that's what we get to do as a club on an island like this, to be part of that community. And just to touch on what was a first for us last year, is we had our first adult summer invitational tournament. Susan and Stefan will remember it well because they were the eventual winners for the Bowen Island FC team, which beat my Liverpool team in the final. But it wasn't fully justified when we'll get into that. But yeah, it was they did very great. And so this is the sort of thing that we'll look to continue. There will be an expansion of it. This year we'll go up from 6 teams to 8. That was 2 teams from Bowen and 4 visitors last year, which was really cool. This year we'll have 6 teams from the city turn up to play. That currently is penciled in, or is locked in now, for the weekend of the 22nd, 23rd of August. It was just a really good time. If you're not involved in playing it, I'd recommend coming out to watch because it was a lot of fun. I think, we probably have a desire to do something similar with youth football as well. Soccer, that's something we'll have to build in as we go. But looking ahead a little bit, we also have the small matter of a World Cup coming to Vancouver, which is one of the biggest things that will happen around here. I don't think there's been anything this big for soccer since 2015 when Vancouver hosted the Women's World Cup final. I think we're going to have unprecedented eyes on the local area. While I'm not the biggest fan of FIFA and how they operate, I think there's a line we should draw in certain ways with where we connect. I think there are going to be a lot of good things from there. I still remember the 1990 World Cup as it was yesterday, and that was when I started loving the sport. I think a lot of people around that age on the island are going to get a quick start that they'll never forget this year. And I think capitalising on that is going to be really important. So we'll be looking to organise watch parties, mini tournaments, that kind of thing in the build up to it. Any help with that will be massively appreciated. The only way that we get to do big things here is if we get support like that. So volunteers massively appreciated on that one. And then looking slightly further ahead, we were established in 2007, which means we turn 20 years old next year, which is a massive milestone. I think this gives us the opportunity to look back at what we've done before, to tell that story, to look to the future, and to really consolidate the club. So throughout the next 12 to 18 months, you can expect us to really embrace the milestone. I think we'll be looking at events, stories, social content. I've got an ambition to make a bit of a documentary about the club around this time. So again, anything that people would like to get involved in and help out on that one, I think it's a huge opportunity for us to do something that really puts the history of the club up in lights. And just a few wins and opportunities to look at as well. Having Oscar join us as a club technical director, that's huge for the club. I'm sure it's not the last time it will be said tonight, but the work that he's done in volunteering in that role was absolutely huge. So to have somebody now in that position allows us to operate in a much more professional way. We hosted the first ever invitational tournament, massive win there, as I say. We increased engagement across female soccer. That's something very close to my heart. We've seen the Red Panthers go from strength to strength, seeing a second or third year of regular women's soccer, and something that we really want to get behind again this year for in adult. We secured the long-term future of the kit design, and again, we've shown more prominence in the Bowen community. And then those two big opportunities are the World Cup on our doorstep and the 20th anniversary. So again, any support as we go into those two big things would be absolutely huge for us. And then we've got a video of spreadsheets.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to do my best to go through over the financials quickly for everybody's sake and just go through the numbers. And then if there's any follow-up questions or if you have any, Neil is going to be at the meeting. My apologies for not being there, and I hope to be able to answer any questions upon my return. So let me start by sharing the screen and just I'm going to quickly go over the financials for 2025. Actual versus budget, and then we're going to quickly discuss the budget for 2026 from a revenue and expenses perspective. So in 2025, it was relatively sort of on par year. In terms of revenue, we did get the BC grants, we did get some of the merchandise revenue and the uniform revenue that we anticipated based on the numbers. The merchandise revenue was a little bit above expectations, which was great. But obviously, this is largely offset and basically almost 100% offset by the expenses we have in purchasing their merchandise. But it was still great to see that the merchandise is moving and that there's more of the t-shirts and the hoodies around the island with the new logo and everything. The biggest thing that happened that we didn't do in 2025 that we didn't anticipate for, or we thought differently around last year, was the expenditures, the capital investments we were planning to do in 2025. The largest ones being the benches on the field. This would have been in the budget of $30,000+ for 2025. For a number of reasons, we ended up foregoing and not pursuing that option. And we're going to be looking to allocate these funds a little bit differently in 2026. The biggest expenditure that we had in 2025 when it comes to capital investments was on the canopy side. We did buy 3 new canopies in 25, and those look great. And I think we're going to look to augment that fleet of canopies this year. Overall, the youth programs were a little bit, we received a little bit less than anticipated. The mini house was particularly strong in 2025, and we think this bodes very well for the future. The youth league, we did lose 18 to Vancouver. And these things happen as sometimes the numbers don't necessarily match up, or the offerings don't necessarily exactly match up to what is needed. And so we did come in slightly under budget on that, largely because of that. But this was somewhat anticipated and in 2025. And like I said, I think the mini house program being the way it is, I think it really sets us up really well for the future. And we anticipate similar numbers and strong in numbers in mini house in the next couple of years as well. The adult side, the attendance was phenomenal. Really had a really strong summer and fall when it comes to the adult program, and we're looking to carry that through into 2026. The 50+ program and the women's league are also doing really well, so that's very good, and we're very happy about that. The next slide I want to just show you is just sort of a quick breakdown between youth programs, adult revenue, and operation. Youth revenue, it was 68% of the total revenue in 23, 60 last year, the year before, the year after, and 58 in 2025. So we're seeing a move away from relying solely on youth revenue, which is fantastic. Adult revenue has also started to trend up, and we anticipate both of these trends to continue. Operationally, we also did have some increases there. And a lot of this was driven by some of the merchandise and some of the activities that Andy was spearheading in the last couple of years. In terms of expenses, we've highlighted some of the ones that I think are most relevant that we would love to talk about. The biggest one being the fact that the TD job did remain vacant in 2025. And while that did provide us some savings, it's not a sustainable thing to rely on Neil. And we're happy to report that we do have somebody in 2026, and we're hoping that they're going to stick around and be able to provide that role for foreseeable future. Similarly, on the investment side that we saw, obviously the other side of that is the capital expenditures. We did not spend the money that we had allocated originally for the benches, and this is why the number is looking drastically different on the capital expenditures, as well as total expenses of budget versus actual. It's mostly driven through that. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning is that the coaching support was a little bit over budget, as well as the coaching certification. I think all of these things are setting us up for a more sustainable future. I think because Neil was doing a lot of that work as well, again, on a volunteer basis, the fact that, we're seeing an increase in participation from Oscar, who's also taken over the TD job. Those are all things that set us up for a more sustainable future. And we're excited to see that. We were excited to see that in 2025, and we anticipate the same trend in 2026. The last couple of things that I wanted to mention, the North Shore fees, the tournament fees, and things like that, we have seen an increase in all of those. And I think this has been happening basically the last couple of years. And it's another one of the reasons why we could not keep the fees flat for 2026 and why we ultimately ended up increasing the fees. But administratively, we have just seen an increase in fees across the board, and just wanted to highlight that briefly. The last item is the fact that in 2025, we did pay for the Bowen field 1 year. We've caught up basically to pay for the field in the year that we use it, which is fantastic because we were always 1 year behind. So that is great news, and we did have some extra finances that we were able to use towards that purpose. And so now the year that we use the field is the year that we're going to be paying for the field, which is excellent. And again, sets us up for a more sustainable future. That is all I think we need to talk about on the expenses and the revenues for 2025. The overall net income was around $11,000. Again, largely driven by the fact that our TD costs in 2025 were zero, whereas we had anticipated an expenditure of $10,800. For 2026 revenue budget. So a lot of it stays similar to what we had anticipated in 2025. We're still expecting to receive the grant, the BC grant, which is great. The merchandise revenue and the registration uniform revenues, those are going to be still there. We do anticipate the uniforms to come down a little bit in 2026, just because we saw a big increase in 2025, and that was largely driven by some of the new logos and people replacing their jerseys. There will be a larger investment next year. We're not going to be doing the benches, but we're going to be doing something else, and we're anticipating a cost of around $13,000 for 2026 when it comes to capital investments from the club. In terms of youth programs, the team has done a lot of work in terms of trying to anticipate what those numbers will look like in 2026 based on some of the numbers that we have seen in the past and how those transition into the more senior programs. And we think we are confident about the numbers and what we anticipate, and we believe they're still somewhat conservative. one of the items that is worth mentioning is that we did increase the fees to the mini house and the youth leagues by 10%. This is the first time we've done it, and I think it still is very competitive to anything that we see in other parts of the Vancouver. But we still would love the club to remain that way. And as long as we believe we can do that, we will certainly do that. But I think it was prudent to increase the fees in line with what our own expenses are going up, and to make sure that we are able to have a sustainable club going forward. The league, adult league, we're anticipating that to remain very strong. We have increased the fees also by 10% or so. And we believe this is going to really continue to set us up well for the future as we see more and more revenue coming in through the adult programs. I think that's all I will say on the revenue side that we anticipate in 2026. In terms of the expenses for 2026, we do believe that the TD position now, as I mentioned, has been filled. So that is wonderful. I think that really sets us up for the long-term sustainability of the program, so that we don't rely on Neil and his work on a volunteer basis. We have also increased the small fees to the GM and the coordinator roles. This is the first increase we had since COVID, and I think it also sets us up really well for the sustainability of the club going forward. The last few things that I want to mention is the coaching fees. We do see an increase in those, and I think that, again, from a sustainability perspective for the club is wonderful, because Neil has done a lot of that work over the last little while, and the fact that now we are relying on external sources, I think, is wonderful. And I think this is going to be a great year for us to try to gauge that and try to see how that all works out. In terms of capital expenditures in 2026, for the 13,000 that we mentioned in here, we'd love to mention the fact that this is going to be anticipated to go towards the turf bin replacement, because right now those are not safe, frankly. So we want to replace those. We would love to buy 3 additional tents. The shed doors for the outdoor outside needs to be repaired. And then there's 2 events that we would love to highlight. The anniversary event that will happen in next year. So we would love to, plan ahead, be ready for that, and as well as the World Cup events that we anticipate in this year. And we do anticipate to continue with the scholarship contribution. So that kind of sums up everything that I wanted to highlight there. Any questions, feel free to reach out to the team and let us know if there are any questions. Thanks so much.
Okay, well, maybe what I'll do is just quickly kind of go through the last 2 slides of our state. So these are yes, 2025, it should be 2026 in here instead. And so this is the kind of proposed budget for 2026. Just a few notes kind of in here. So, what we're starting to see is, definitely mini house starting to get big numbers. So we're starting to see a little bit of shift on the youth side in terms of where revenue is coming from. A little bit of a shift up on the mini house, coming down a little bit on the youth side. And we'll probably see that again kind of this year. Come up as well. Adult League was really successful last year. So starting to see again another shift. Historically we've always been heavy on the youth side in terms of revenue coming in. Now Adult is actually starting to bring that back up again. So it's nice that we're starting to kind of distribute that a little bit more evenly across the kind of organization as well. There was one kind of big item that we had last year. It's actually highlighted there, the 37,000. It's actually offset on both the revenue and the budget. Actually, sorry, maybe this is. Essentially, we kind of earmarked that to put benches on the field for last year. Sorry, shelters. Shelters, kind of benches on the field. And we kind of stepped back from it a little bit. One, we had some challenges with some of the vendors, kind of pricing and things like that. We're also looking at some other ideas about how best to use some of that capital funds. There were some ideas during last year that maybe we should look at doing the feasibility of could we turn the grass into a turf field as well. And we may still look at that as well. That's one of the things for our 2026 board to look at, to see do we want to kind of start looking at the feasibility of doing that. Obviously 37,000 isn't enough to build an actual turf field, but this is just the feasibility. Seeing can we get people to come in, assess, whether it actually be feasible to push the soccer field on there, and what it would actually take from an overall concept. One of the things we are planning on doing from a capital perspective is take some of that money out and put towards, like we're putting it towards some tents and benches this year. We're actually going to take some money and put it towards the events, our World Cup event, and planning for next year's 2027 events as well. So I was on the revenue side. On the expenses, some of the things that Boris called out. Yeah, so obviously, I mentioned it again, but I'm stepping down. I've stepped down already as the TV from the end of last year, and Oscar's taken over. So we're now kind of back up to our usual complement in terms of operational staff within the club as well. So that means in terms of salaries, we're kind of at where we should have been for the last several years. So that puts our expenses kind of back up, but it's back up where we should be. You mentioned the tents and the benches. That was primarily it. And one of the things we're looking to do this year is continue the scholarship. So we do have, with the Bowen Island Community Foundation, we actually have a fund, a scholarship fund. We need to get that up to about 25,000, I think, until it's self-fulfilling or self-funding, so that we can actually award an annual award. I think at the moment we're about 16,000, 17,000, so we're looking to top that up every year to kind of help that. And just so everybody knows, that's an annual award that we do. Typically, it's someone who's been through our programs, who's now at kind of third level education, and we do it to help, with some of their college fees and stuff like that as well. So one other thing I missed on the revenue side. What's a big thing for this year? We are actually increasing our fees pretty much across the board, all the way from mini house to youth. We haven't touched academy, and then of course the adult programs. It's averaging about a 10% increase. We haven't increased our fees since prior to COVID. And as I spoke about a little bit before, all of our expenses are kind of going up. Insurance is going up, field paint is going up. So we feel that this is the right time to kind of do that. When you compare it, as Boris did mention it, we actually looked at a lot of clubs across Vancouver, particularly the North Shore. We're very competitive. We're very competitive to a lot of other programs on the island as well.
Without sponsorship.
Without sponsorship as well, yeah. That's something we haven't looked to pursue this year as well. So I feel like it's probably the right time to kind of do it. Obviously, we're conscious that cost of living is kind of going up for everybody, but we do have to make sure that we've got a sustainable program. Alrighty, any questions on the kind of proposed budget for 2026? Or anything on the financial side? Okay. All right, so we do need a motion for somebody to propose to approve the budget for 2026. Anybody from? Okay, thanks, Steve. Do we have someone to second it? Have we got Colin? All in favor? Anybody against? Alrighty, thank you. All right, almost there. I think we got a couple of quick sections left. So this one here is the board elections for 2026. Hopefully fairly straightforward. So just a little bit of a call out, and sorry, I should say 2026. The board is one thing, but we do actually look to kind of tap into the membership for various kind of volunteering. Obviously, our coaches and our managers do a huge amount, and there's a lot of them out here as well. Our board do a lot, but we want to try and encourage the general membership parents out there to try to participate from a volunteering perspective. There's various kind of events throughout the year. We mentioned, or Andy mentioned them a little bit earlier, this race around Bowen, Canada Day, things like that. So we have sponsorship here. I don't think that's something that we're really looking at the moment to kind of do. Equipment and uniforms, it's always a big thing. It takes a lot of needless time. So if anybody who's interested in kind of getting involved in some of that areas as well. There's a little bit of IT that we do as well. I kind of do a lot of that at the moment, along with Andy, team staff management as well. Yeah, and various other areas, like we are looking to actually update our constitutional bylaws this year as well. So if there's anybody out there that has an interest in that, and lawyers out there, we appreciate some help, or anybody good with ChatGPT, kind of help as well. So yeah, yeah, I know it's a small audience here, but we'll look to try to send out some communications and seeking volunteers as well. So it doesn't have to be official in terms of a member of the board or coach. Sometimes we just need people to help with specific tasks as well. Okay, so this year, in terms of the existing board, standing for re-election, for confirmed, we've got Andy, Boris. I am going to continue with the board for one more year. Just in case anybody doesn't know, Killian, my son, is aged out this year. He just finished up U13, so I'm stepping down as president of the club this year, and Andy is going to be taking over, we think, for next year. But I am going to stick around on the board for another year, primarily from a soccer operations perspective. So I'm going to work with Oscar this year to kind of help transition that role for the TD directors to kind of help on that as well. So I'll be still part of the club, still here as well, and I'll do one more year on the board. Kind of Rebecca is continuing, and then we have Brian Vanson, unfortunately, couldn't be here tonight as well. And we had a couple of new board members show interest, Bianca and Gillian McLean. Also, sorry, just in terms of stepping down, so Lee is stepping down as kind of secretary from the existing board. Lee's youngest, Kid Avery, kind of aged out this year as well, and we'll talk about kind of Lee in a second as well. But Lee's, it's a good opportunity for me to kind of step away and for somebody else to step up into the board and into the secretary role as well. Jess Anka is also stepping down. She's involved a lot heavily with Westman at the moment because her daughter's out there. She did offer Vinny though to replace her. So, so Andrew, if you want to join instead of me. Yeah, so we have Vinny and Gillian have shown interest as well. And I believe, Rebecca, you mentioned Lisa Bodie.
The body.
Body
is also.
Okay. Are they confirmed? Do they officially want their name on the?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that brings us to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 3 who aren't here. So we got Lisa. Oh, Vinny is on it. Okay, sorry, that gives us 9 then in total. So, we are from a bylaws perspective, we are allowed up to 10 directors. Like we have to have a minimum of 6, maximum of 10. So that gives us 9. So look it up. Is anybody else interested here? You don't have to. Like it's. Okay, just that'll be great. You know, the more voices, the better, and you know, particularly be part of the adult program as well as the women's. You know, we're always looking for more voices as well.
Julie? Yeah.
Okay. So I'll propose a motion then to for the 2026 board to have Andy Galuli, Boris Nikic, Neil Bird, Rebecca Ander, Brian Glancy, Vinny Anka, Gillian McLean, Lisa Bodie, Lauren Cotter, and Susan Gilliam. Missed anyone? Is that 10? Anybody counting? Okay. So could I have somebody to propose that motion? Hey, Matt, so the second. Oscar.
Even though we're members.
Yeah.
You're taking it.
Just
what
I usually don't, it doesn't say, I don't think.
I know a board member can, but I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah. Bring up new rules now.
I keep-
Okay, yeah.
Hey, with it's a different. I don't register, but I be the member as well.
Okay. Are we good?
Technicality.
Okay, perfect. Alrighty, and we do have one last thing. We have some acknowledgements. So we've got a few people we want to kind of acknowledge here today. So first one is Jess. As I mentioned, she's stepping down on the board. She's kind of helped a little bit with Andy this year, kind of helping to plan out some of the events that we're going to have upcoming this year. But she'll be stepping down, but as I mentioned, she offered Vinny to join the board for next year. Second person I want to say a big thank you to is to Lee. Lee's been a member of the board, I think, since I've been here at least, if not more. It's 2018, yeah, I think that's before my time as well. Obviously, apologies, I have you down here as treasurer, but it should be secretary. For the last kind of couple of years, Lee's been a coach with last year's U13s, all the way from, I don't know what age you started with that group, Lee, as well. And then as a parent this last year as well for Avery. So I want to say a big thank you and appreciate you for the club and the board. And lastly, also want to say a big thank you to Colin. Colin's been kind of coaching academy with myself, I think, for the last 3 years. I think most people know, but we had a big transition about 3 years when Morgan took a big opportunity for him with Barnaby. That's when I took on the TV role. But Colin stepped up and sort of helped with the academy and with myself kind of the last 3 years as well, both in spring and in fall. And big thank you for kind of taking that on. Colin's also been a coach for Bowen for many, many years, seeing both of his kids through the programs. And he's stepping down from the academy this year, and he's will be stopping this as well.
Okay, don't go anywhere, Neil. So Neil is the most humble person I know, so he's going to hate the next 2 or 3 minutes.
Video.
This gets said of a few people, but I think it's absolutely fair to say that without Neil, there genuinely wouldn't be a football club. I don't think it's exaggerating things to say that there's a lot that was going on at the time when Neil first came into the club. He guided us through a pandemic. I think actually he's been the moral compass of the club for the last few years.
Just for Andy.
The number of times I'll hear about something happening and I'll be like, oh, so you did this, right? And then I'll be like, no, I did this. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense and what I did. I think there's probably a few people here who think Neil does a lot, and you only have part of the picture because he's doing that with the presidency, he's doing it on the board, he's doing it with adult soccer, he's been doing it with coaching academy, and keeping Killian and his team in check as well. Like the things that Neil has contributed to the club have been absolutely outstanding, and it's been great to get to know him during this period as well. So massive thank you for everything that Neil has done to date and will continue to do, because I know he's not going to step away completely, and we'll surely see him around still. But yeah, I couldn't be more thankful for what Neil's done in allowing myself and my family to have soccer on the island, and I'm sure everybody thinks the same. So huge round of applause for Neil. That was something meaningful. So we have a friend going on shirt with a few photographs from your time here, Neil. I'd be careful though, because we are a fiscally responsible club, and I'm not sure how much the spraying is going to hold. Okay. I'm going to hand it across to you, but if you squeeze quite tight. We have some alcohol for you as well.
Thank you.
And also, I was on my way here and I found a bag of trash. I thought you might be interested in, Neil. So that's for you as well, mate. It disgusted me to have to do this, but I hope you enjoy it. more than I would, so I think that's signed by this year's joke of the team.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, thanks, Andy. No, first, just want to thank you for your people as well. And, obviously everybody who's on the current board, but I'm not going to name everybody and kind of go through as well. It's fantastic though to see that there's so much interest in joining the board this year. Usually we have to scramble, to try to get that 6. But the fact that we've gotten 10 is fantastic. People are actually interested. So big thank you to the current boards. Some past board members as well. The previous presidents before I joined, Charlene Hur and Andrea Baston, did a fantastic job. I think they got us through a lot of the early kind of COVID as well. Handed over to myself and James Wood, a big shout out to James. We kind of co-president for about a year and a half as well. I thought James might kind of join today, but it's a little early in the UK. So big thank you to them, all the previous board members who've been on over the time I've been here. Kind of as well. That Fraser Elliott's kind of been secretary for many years as well. Big thank you to all of the coaches that have been out there as well. I pride myself on being part of the community. So it's great to see the amount of volunteering that happens out here. I know there's many coaches here, but there's been many coaches over the years as well. And big thank you to them, to all of the managers. It really makes this club kind of what I think of, what I want to be part of in terms of community. I grew up in a small village in Ireland. It was about 3,000 people, so very similar to Bowen. And soccer was my whole life, kind of growing up. It was part of the community. Like you had parent coaches, kind of helping kids out as well. And I'm glad I found a place like this as well, where I could consider it. And that's my thing. I want to give that back to the community. It's been a pleasure doing it for the last kind of 4 or 5 years. The parents, I think, here are fantastic as well, making sure that we keep this club going, keep their kids registered, keep them interested in soccer as well. And obviously, I think she was going to come here, but I think she might be working. But Lindsay and Killian, it's been a lot of time and effort the last few years. I want to thank them as well, just for the time I'm not there as well. I try to balance it as much as possible, but they've been fantastic as well. I know Killian's loved it. Just being part of soccer as well. So, but yeah, thank you. Okay, sorry, we got to finish up. Sorry, I don't have a that point. So we don't have any other business, I think. Any questions over everything we've done? Anything outside of what we've covered today?
One thing, and this might be actually for is, we have some really great coaches that are really good at interfacing with West End, like Bowen and Neil, and then there were some other coaches that didn't really know how to do that. And that we sort of feed into West End. We're kind of a feeder club, West End, North Shore, Borough. I wondered, if I've been talking to coaches at West End, how can we make a shared language on where our players are? I mean, we have, like I said, Bowen and Stacey and Mitchell and Stacey did a really good job of communicating that to West End, but how do we make sure that coaches are set up to do that for a long time? Because I didn't play in the Lower Mainland at all. I didn't play soccer here, so I don't really know this is on. And so just how do we build a shared language between our club and West End?
Just to help with the transition.
Exactly, right? Because we have, and I think you also have, with the work you did, still some players gotten probably, arguably in this place. Or we're in probably not in a great position. Could have been, right? And
I think what we learned from that was that Neil's kids now, that age group was really hard. And what we have found is that Weston doesn't really get kids.
yeah,
And so we're encouraging them to do West End in the spring and in the fall, so that West Band or whatever club they want to go to is learning about them before trying.
Yeah.
If these kids show up at a West End, also having this sort of great bit about reaching out to the English. What do they need from us to things earlier?
Yeah.
It wasn't that. I think getting them into the kind of the Rock Island, with a lot of families were very dedicated to in the interest of the children. We do, I think, some of the kids did West Band in the fall, academy.
I know, nothing, I agree with that at all.
Just the spring.
Like we reached out and we participated in West Fans Academy, but we brought all the kids involved over about 2-3 weeks ago. And that helped because this weekend they do the tryouts, the coaches coming home.
Yeah.
But like I think it goes beyond just for the tryouts and that transition. This is something we could probably work with is because you play with West Ham and the stage in West Ham as well. That maybe we need to start a relationship even earlier. So say, here's what we have from a mini house perspective, here's what we have from a youth team perspective. Our kid's going to funnel into your club. We do the right things, or if there's any recommendations you have for us in terms of mini house level, at the youth level, I'm trying to build that in. And they do have, because I was looking at it for the players, they do actually have evaluation assessment forms online for West Ham. So we could get the official ones from them to see that when they're getting ready for that we have coaches use that same sort of language as well. But I like the idea of building a relationship there, just so that every February we just reach out and then here's the latest match going over. We might need to build that up a little bit more before.
Yeah, and just so that we sort of know, like you said, and I know all that work has been done, and I certainly do. I think it was more on me for my age group, and also we had girls too, so I didn't I understand much for girls. There's different interfaces there, but maybe there's a language we can create. Yeah.
It was sort of a scramble. They were like, so I was doing a floor, taking little. But that was like, we need to work on.
What if you find it some like a Leo or a Des or
Yeah.
whatever, like invite them over?
I think that'd be good as well. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it needs to start more fundamental. Like, here's our program as a whole, and get them. They could even come over and do some work with our coaches bench. Or like during when our U13s are getting ready to transition, come over and watch it there.
Well, even when they start playing to coast up, like if the U10 level or whatever, the French cooking league, be like, hey, this is our group, just so you know. You want to come and watch a game, and then again the next year, this is where we're at now. I think kind of introduce them once they're already in SPL, because not SPL, right? Because then they would know, like, these kids of where they are at and what their level is, so that by the time they get to the U13, as they're going through the clients, coaches are going to be good.
It's probably the potential as well with talks about the invitational that we might move to use at some point to bring over West Ham teams to play against like the Bowen teams of that age group. Leo or whoever came over and saw that too. That sort of integration, I definitely think that's a worthy thing to consider.
And we could even so one of the West Ham coaches actually lives on Bowen, so Jordan Gibbon. So he was doing the tryouts for like Killian's group in the league. Bring him out to the academy or something, as part of like build that relationship and let him see some of the kids and things like that as well. So I think it probably just needs a conversation with Leo and Des. Sort of say, here's what we do, like build some stronger bonds with them and
Yeah.
And the female type.
Yeah. Sorry, Des on the boys side.
Yeah.
I'm actually saying North Shore girls.
So I think a good loose training is I coached West Ham for UA through 16.
Yeah.
And those coaches evaluation forms are what triggers the next level coaches to come and have a look at the players. So I think it would be really good for us to adopt those coach evaluation forms along with the relationship with West Ham, so that as our coaches here evaluate somebody at a certain level, it will trigger West Ham to come and have a watch of them in their own environment. Because having seen Oscar play through the tryout program in West Ham, it's a high pressure, not in your backyard kind of scenario, which a lot of kids can internalize instead of externalize, depending on what kind of characters they are. Whereas for the coaches to go and see the Bowen kids here on Bowen, in teams they're comfortable with, they will perform much better. And then they will go into those tryouts on further footing. Than if they're in amongst a bunch of strangers, worried about how did I do today, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
I
it's a
think we can help with that relationship, because I coach there, I know
Yeah.
the name, so as well as Oscar's relationship, we can certainly help.
Yeah, it's a good point, because I saw it this week with our kids, like some kids that are used to playing with their own kids and have their own, whether it's mannerisms or the way they play. And other kids were just fine with it, like, and
Yeah, the extroverts are fine.
Yeah.
The introverts
Yeah.
just kind of, they never get recognized because they're not in a comfortable environment.
And if you don't get recognized, you get treated as a brand new software. And you're not, because you've been playing for 11 years.
I've seen kids who I know I was coaching, could have played 2 levels above, pushed the level down
And they're,
because of their character,
and because
rather
of that,
than allowed to, step up.
and we want you, especially in that 13, 14, 15 age group, to not lose one. That's a critical age to stay engaged.
Yeah, it's a tough age for the kids, for sure. That's the last thing they need to know.
Yeah.
Well, and spreading it out too, because like these last 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, like, I don't hold sick around it. When my daughter went through it, she had a question, so, but, so if they could come over at other times, then like,
Yeah.
just that little window where they might be seeing. Really important to them.
yeah, like, because the West Nine coaches are all West Nine kids, they probably already have an idea where most of them are gonna go. Whereas it's really a very short window for our kids to get recognized.
Yeah.
So trying to do more touch points with you. And that's something we can work on, and I don't know if you know Leo, but we can kind of,
I did both. I played on a team that Dad's coached.
Yeah.
And Leo's coached me in my guitars.
okay, anything else?
Just one thought. Like Andy said at the end of summer tournament, fantastic. You know, you were lucky to be on the top team.
Say it again.
What I was thinking was, is there a way we could do something at the end of the spring season, just for people on Bowen? Some kind of tournament just to end that. I don't know whether it's just the co-ed or if we actually do something with the women's and with the over 50s. They could kind of get together. I don't know. I still have some nostalgia for the old days with the teams, and if we could just do it even just to end the season, I think that would be a lot of fun. Just an idea.
Yeah, we toyed around with each of the 10-week seasons, like maybe doing like 2 weeks at the end as more of a tournament type. I like the idea of mixing though, because I really liked last year the Burns Jennings things where you had a mix of ages out there. So you could even potentially bring in some of the kids as part of it as well. But that might be nice to put together.
I think Stefan, let's connect you with Matt and the team that organising this. Yeah, we're a bit of info on that, but
Is the two in or memorials happening?
I haven't heard for this year. We didn't do it last year. I know the Burns Memorial was on at the same time, so I'm not sure what's happening yet. I think Morgan's trying to do another one for Burns this year, probably later in the summer. So it's 2 months later ahead of that. Anything else before we wrap up?
great meeting.
Thanks, Julie.
Motion to adjourn.
Don't tell us if we don't like that.
Okay. All right, well, if there's nothing else, then we can do a motion to adjourn at whatever the time is now. Not proposed, we can need a seconder. No, they're still here, staying. All right, perfect, well, thank you all for joining. Very long, and I don't know if you have